Welcome to Cambridge House Live. I'm Bridget Anderson, and I am joined by Joe Martin, chairman of Cambridge House. Welcome, Joe.
It's a pleasure to be here, Bridget.
Tell me how the conference is going so far.
Well, looking around here, it's Sunday morning, it's, my opinion, is one of the best conferences we've ever held.
Why is that?
Well, I guess from my perspective, the numbers of people here and the numbers of exhibitors, I don't think there's been a conference this big on the investment side of mineral exploration ever held in the world.
Why do you think that is? Is there just a renewed interest in the junior mining sector, or why do you think there is so many people here?
We've reached several things about that. First of all, I always tell people that the world needs metals, and about 60% of all mineral exploration in the world is done by Canadian companies. I've been to China, I've been to Thailand, I've been to Quebec, I've been to Northern Ontario. You go anywhere and there's somebody from Canada on the ground looking for metals. And about 2/3 of those companies are headquartered in Vancouver, and that relates back to the old Vancouver Stock Exchange. So we have the infrastructure here, and there's just a tremendous amount of interest in the sector in Vancouver. Combined with that, you read this past year, for example, when China decided to cut off exporting critical metals, people are waking up. The main media starts covering these types of things. Are we in an actual copper shortage? I read that the United Nations says there's going to be 1.91 billion more people in the next 38 years. And they all want food. That means potash mines in Saskatchewan. It means copper has to be found. And there's nobody better than the Canadian juniors around the world. I don't care where you go. They're there and they're finding it.
You mentioned the Vancouver Stock Exchange. So looking back and where we are now, how much have things changed and in what key ways?
Well, I guess after the Bre-X fiasco, and they came in with more of a shareholder protection thing with the National Instrument 43-101. So there has to be an independent audit now on your reserves. And you think of what happened with Bre-X and how the markets were affected here, and nothing even close to comparison of the disasters in the U.S. with some companies like Enron. You know, we're pretty clean up here.
What would you say sets Cambridge House apart from the competition?
Well, we're very responsive to the industry. We live here, and the majority of our clients are from Vancouver. I can't go out to the bank on a daily deposit without running into somebody who's telling me what's right or what's wrong. And so I consider Cambridge House to be very much part of the industry. We do 8 shows a year, 6 in Canada and 2 in the United States. And tremendous response, but Vancouver's got to be the one we love. It's the world's, we do 2 big shows here. If you do something right, do it twice. So we do one in June too.
Well, let's talk about this show. What are you looking forward to seeing?
Well, I've just bought 2 placements today. What am I looking for? I go around and I have a tremendous crew, so I'm not doing any day-to-day work here. But I like to go around and talk to the companies exhibiting, and I just was talking to one company and showing me what they're doing in an energy project in Mongolia. And I've now started a thing called exploration tourism, where we are taking high net worth people on tours. We're going into Cambodia in April, Myanmar, we're looking at Mongolia, Turkey. Turkey has just changed. There's a situation, that's a good example. In Turkey, mineral claims could be locked up forever with no commitment to work the way we have to in Canada. So a lot of large mining companies were sitting on well-known deposits of ore. Now the Turkish law has changed and they have to spend money. Well, typically big companies, mining companies mine, they don't do the exploration. So Turkey all of a sudden has opened up. So we're looking to do a tour into Turkey for Canadian juniors. We like to be in there first. We like to be early stage.
Now, talking about this show, I have had the pleasure of speaking to both Gordon Chang and Frank Holmes, and really looking forward to the debate and their perceptions and opinions on China. What are some of the other highlights of this year's show?
Well, we've got a conference within a conference. 2 things happening here that are within. We have 2 tents here. We have Casey Research Group, and their stable of writers and speakers are in the Casey Research. We also have the Cambridge House Investor College, where we are offering a number of free courses on introductions to how to invest in the markets and things like that. But tomorrow afternoon, Monday afternoon, pardon me, we are doing a battery technology metals forum for high net worth people. And this is a bit of a departure. We're not just talking stocks. We're talking about where is the world going in batteries? How do we take solar power and store it? And we're talking, I've seen pictures of batteries, like vanadium batteries, the size of an ice rink that can store enough energy to populate a city. So we're taking tremendous, so we have, again, Vancouver juniors, Canadian juniors. We have lithium, graphite is hot right now, and again, that dates back to the Dodd-Frank Act, which was recently passed in the United States, where you cannot take carbon from the Dominican Republic of Congo, which accounts for 70-80% of all the carbon in the world. And you can't even buy a product with that. So there's a big demand for graphite right now.
And this is stuff that we wouldn't have been talking about even a few years ago. I mean, you've been doing this for some time. What do you think has been some of the biggest changes that you've seen?
Well, there's another element to this, that preservation of wealth. Gold and silver has always been critical. Silver is more of an industrial metal, but it is a poor man's currency, if you will. We are seeing a tremendous increase in the amount of gold and silver being bought. And that's hedging yourself against future, against inflation. The Americans particularly are really concerned about this.
Different dynamics for sure in the US and Canada.
Oh, yeah. We think in Canada, we look at gold as something we have to find and mine. Down in the US, it's something we want to keep away, and Roosevelt better not come out of his grave and take it away from us.
So definitely, you know, when it comes to investors looking at what's going on here in Canada and with the junior miners, really Canadian perspective here.
You know, we use the expression 5-bagger, 10-bagger. You don't get that in the stock markets, but you do with the juniors. You know, you have a uranium company that's trading at 85 cents or something. It goes up to $20 or $16, and you get these multiples that you don't get in other investments. So it's I don't call it investing. We call it speculation. So a company comes in with some pretty good drill holes. The ore body's proven. Their stock rises, and normally these type of investors would get out because the stock will level off before they go into production as a mine. But there's some tremendous, you know, just talking to somebody this morning, I got a 10-bagger this week, and somebody says the markets are bad. There's always a little bit of action with the Canadian juniors.
Give me your take on where you think the markets are right now.
Well, I'm not an alarmist, but you know, are we going to? Debt has to be paid, and to pay your debt, are you either going to print a lot of money? Are you going to go into hyperinflation? There's different concerns about that. You know, the Keynesian monetary system has proven to be a farce. Doesn't work. I'm a bit of a libertarian, but I can't say Ron Paul is going to cut $3 trillion out of the budget one year. You can't do that. So, you know, in where we're going, I think we're in such good shape here in British Columbia, and the people don't know about the only complaint I got in British Columbia. I think Prime Minister Harper should cut to the chase and build a refinery here. We're producing 400,000 barrels of oil a day in North Dakota, South Dakota, on the Bakken Plate. The Saskatchewan side is coming up strong. Why don't we have a refinery here? Solve this pipeline problem. What are we doing shipping this oil down to New Orleans for it? Let's put it up here. You can deliver it right to your market.
And that talks about Canada's economic security.
Absolutely. And but the big question is, we have to find out what happens in Europe. If the euro breaks up, the U.S. dollar will still, in my opinion, stay the currency of record. I see the Iranians are buying U.S. dollars and hoarding it down here. Iraq Obama is talking about maybe or Israel is going to go in and bomb them. They're taking foreign currency because of the embargoes that's affecting their currency. So it's all these things happening, and fortunately though, we're a commodity country here in British Columbia. I don't, in the farmlands of Canada, we're in pretty good shape. And you know, we didn't get carried away in our banking systems with the ETFs, electronic traded funds, and things like that. It really destroyed the banking industry.
Very different system in Canada.
Absolutely. And you know, I hear you buy stock. When you buy an ETF, you don't know what you're buying. You know, are they really got gold in the vault? Who knows? The other thing that's important about these conferences, Bridget, is I say there's one basic philosophy in investing in Canadian juniors. I just say I bet the jockey. A good jockey will find good properties, will find how to get money, and if the project fails because the drill results weren't good enough, they've got another property in their back pocket and they carry right on. So we don't lose clients here. We got always new companies coming, but it's the same principles here. So I always just tell the people, come to a show like this, you look the person in the eye, do you trust them? Are they really going to do what they say they're going to do? Bet on the jockey.
And lots of knowledgeable speakers to talk about all kinds of macro dynamics as well.
Yeah, I like macro where it's going to affect commodity prices, things like that. But and of course we have a lot of letter writers who do a lot of traveling to projects, and I always tell people they should subscribe to these guys because they're out on the ground doing their due diligence and recommending stocks. And I subscribe to a lot of them, and I take their advice, and I do fairly well at it.
Well, great show and lots more coming up. Joe, thanks very much for joining me.
Hey, and it's much better having you here.
Oh, thank you very much.